Alright, so this project is all about composition. So composition is just using different layers and components in your digital media to create a final product. So in this project that I've pre-created for you, there are several images, and our goal is to get to this finished, this would be the finished product that we're trying to get to. So one of the main things we're going to learn about today is how to get a pattern, like an image pattern, into a mask and use it to create some sort of interesting pattern. So there's a couple patterns in here. Obviously this large one here with the ink splotch thingy, and then in the logo here we applied this wood pattern to kind of give it an aged look. So those are the two patterns we're going to use in a mask. So the first thing we want to do is get this image to be good for a mask. So we're going to remove the background, or basically hide the background. So there's a little bit of a pattern in this image. It's hard to see unless you zoom in. There's some gray stripes. So I want to get rid of that. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and select a color range. So that's found in the Select tab, and do color range. I'm going to select the background and turn the fuzziness, but I don't want to start eating away into the ink. I just want to get the background color. So about right there is good. So now all of this is selected, the background, and what I want to do is select the inverse so that the actual blue, I think this is water paints or something like that, so the water paint is selected instead of the background. So I'm going to select the inverse, and then I'm going to apply a mask. So this is what I'm left with here. Alright, I had to pause for a second. I'm back. So, we have a couple of stripes here on the edges of the mask that are still visible, technically, even though there's no content there. So I just want to fill those in with black. So I'm going to use this rectangular marquee tool and just select the edges here. And let me just make sure I have that. So this is one of the important things in this project, is being able to see the actual mask in your project window. Right now I see the actual image, which is this guy here, and I have the mask icon selected. If I switch over to there, you can see now the image icon is selected. So if I have the mask icon selected, and then I hold the Alt key down and click on that icon, I can actually view the mask. So now I can see that the areas of white are actually selected, and I want to fill these with black. So that is an edit function. So I'm going to go to the edit tab and then go to fill, and one of the presets here is black. Then I'm going to deselect. So now all I have in this image is that blue watercolor thingy. So I'm going to Alt click the mask icon again to reveal that. And what I'm going to do is put this on a white background. So I need to click on a new layer, which this is the fastest way down here next to the trash can icon. That's the new layer button. Also, you could go to the layer tab, scroll over new, and then choose layer. There's also a keyboard shortcut that I've never committed to memory. So this is the easiest way. I'll just click here. I've got a new blank layer, and I want this as my background, so I'm going to just drag that to underneath that watercolor thingy, and then I want to fill this with white. Alright. Now for a mask, we want to use this as a mask. So both of these together are going to be our mask. So I need to merge these two layers together. There are several ways to merge. So one is destructive, the other one retains all the information. I'm going to use the one that retains all the information. So I'm going to right click. So first of all, I selected both layers. To select multiple layers, you have to hold the control key down and then select the additional layer. Then you can right click, and we want to, so there's merge layers, which that is the destructive way to do things. I want to convert this to a smart object, which basically retains that information inside this layer. If I double click on this, whoops, that's not what I wanted. So if I double click on the icon, I can actually open up in a new window these two layers that I just selected. So I can, let's see, I'll disable the mask just to show you what that is. Disable layer mask. So now that is still there. Let me just hide that now, and then I'll press save to save that. Now I'll close it, and you can see now it altered that in my smart object. The background is back and the white background is hidden. So I'll go back in and edit this again, and let's re-enable that. So you don't have to do all this, I'm just showing you how smart objects work. So it's kind of like a project within a project. I'm going to save those changes and then close it. So now I'm back to my project. I have this white background, the blue thingy here. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to actually select all of this, everything that I see here, because I want to use this existing image as my mask for the layer underneath it. So I want to select everything that I see right now. There's a shortcut for that, which is Control A for select everything. So select all. And then the other way to do that is to do what I just did there. Go to Select tab and choose all. You can see this, the shortcut there is listed, Control A. So whichever way you want to use. So everything is selected. These pixels are now selected, and I want to copy them. So copy is an edit function. So I'm going to go to the Edit tab, click Copy. Now this pixel information is copied to the clipboard, which you don't see right now, but it'll stay there until you paste it somewhere. So that's going to be the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this because I'm actually done using this. I'm going to hide that. And now I'm going to enable this apple orchard by clicking on the eyeball there. And I'm just going to apply a mask. So I'm just going to click here to create a layer mask. Actually, let me deselect just to make sure nothing weird happens. So I created a mask. And now what I want to do is paste what I have on the clipboard, which is that blue water paint stuff, into this mask. Now if I go to edit and paste, it's just going to paste a new layer. I need to be viewing the actual mask. So I have to alt click the mask icon, which you see just a blurring, like a white background. Now with this visible, I can paste in that image information. So I'm going to go to edit and paste. And there you have it. It's pasted in. I'm going to go to select and deselect. And then I'm going to now alt click my mask to see the results. So what I have here is actually the opposite of what I want. I want to retain the image information where the watercolor is, and then have the background disappear. So what I have here is kind of dark grays on a white background. I want to reverse that and have light grays on a black background. So I need to invert this mask. So that's a Control I for the shortcut. Or you go to the Image tab, Adjustments, and Invert. You can see the shortcut there. Alright, now I have anywhere it's black in my mask is 100% transparent. So actually I should say 0% opacity. You can see through it. Anything that's a shade of gray, I can see some of the image. So the more white or light the grays are, the more of the image shows up. So I actually want to see more of the image, so I need to lighten the light grays. So I'm going to actually use what's called a levels adjustment. Actually, similar to that is a curves adjustment. So we're going to use a curves adjustment to push some of these lighter grays to be white. So that a curves, there's actually curves layer adjustment, but you can't layer adjust a mask. Layer adjustment only applies to the actual image in the layer. So I have to use an image adjustment, which these are destructive. Once you've applied it and saved your project, closed it, you cannot undo that. So we're going to apply a curves adjustment. It brings up this window here, and in the middle, this large window, you can see this is called a histogram, and here you can see how all the colors are lined out, which this is a black and white, so these are just shades of black. So over here I have a lot of black. That's my background. It's a high level, but it's just a small area. And then I don't have a lot. These are all my dark grays, which I don't have a lot of. And then here are some of my lighter grays. And then here's white, pure white. There's not hardly any of that. So in order to get more white, I'm going to actually adjust the starting point for my white to be earlier in the histogram. So anything to the right of this mark right now is going to be pushed to be pure white on the mask. So the farther this way I go, you see more of the image is revealed. So I want to retain some of that rough edge. So I'm not going to push everything to pure white. I'm going to go about right here till I don't want to lose any of the people. So right here, some of the hair and the blouse on this lady is becoming transparent. So I'm going to push some of those to be more white, about right there. Alright, so now I have a little bit of kind of rough edges, but the majority of the image is visible because I've pushed it now to be pure white in the mask. I'm going to press OK, and I'm just going to view the results by alt-clicking my mask. So here I can see there's some of that texture still in there, but a lot of this now is pure white, which allows me to see the image. Alright, now I want to just see how that looks on the background. This is not bad, but I was going for like a fall tone in this project. So I actually kind of want to change this to be more of a blue color. So anywhere it's faded on the edges, I actually want to darken it and have it be blue, like a dark blue, to have it kind of stand out. So what I'm going to do now is just create a new layer, and I'm going to drag this underneath that image that I had before, and I'm going to fill this with a color. So before we had white, now I'm going to choose color, which will bring up another box here. And I'm going to choose a dark blue. Press OK. So now it's on a dark blue background. And what I'm going to do next is try to copy this mask into this layer. If you click and hold the mask and you drag away, you can actually move the mask to another layer. I actually want to copy the mask. So to copy the mask, you have to hold the Alt key down. So now when I click and hold and start dragging away, my cursor, you can see, has two arrows, a black arrow and a white arrow, indicating I'm going to make a copy. I can just release on the blue layer. So now the problem with this is everywhere that the mask was transparent or slightly transparent on the orchard layer is now the same on the blue layer. So let's go ahead and see that. I'm going to hide the orchard layer and hide the wood layer so you can see this is all splotchy. And these are actually the areas I want that blue to show through. So what I need to do is use my layers adjustment, my image adjustment, sorry, and make these grays white. So I'm going to go to my image tab, go to adjustments, I can choose levels or curves. They're very similar. Choose curves here and push everything to white. I think I might leave out some of the edges there. Okay. So now I'm going to Alt click to show the result. So all those holes have been filled in. And now I'm going to enable the previous layer, and now you can see there's kind of a dramatic blue effect here. That's what I was going for. Alright, one more thing I want to do before we call this part of the image good is I'm going to add a curves adjustment that we talked about before, but as an adjustment layer. That's found right here in your adjustment, group, whatever you want to call this. So I'm going to click on the curves one here, and what I'm going to do is just kind of force some of these things that aren't pure black to be darker, and I'm going to play around with the curve just to see what happens. I'm looking for is a little bit more contrast and more vivid colors. So I'm kind of darkening the midtones. Now this is being applied to every layer. I'll show you, here's the wood layer. So if I hide this curves adjustment, it changes everything. And all I want it to do is adjust the orchard image. So the way to do that is to create what's called a clipping mask, which applies this adjustment layer only to the image below it. So I'm going to right click. So you want to right click over where the text is. If you right click the icon, you'll get a different menu. So you want to right click over where the layer text is and choose create clipping mask, and you can see there's this little tiny arrow that appears. It's kind of a down pointing arrow that's indicating it's only being applied to this one layer underneath it. So now if I hide that, it only changes that image. So now I actually have 3 different images making up this one effect here. I have the curves adjustment, the actual image, and the blue background. The next thing I want to do is make these into a group. So I'm going to now click, there's a little folder icon. If you hover over it at the bottom here, It says create a new group. So I'm going to click on that and I get a little folder in my layers panel. It's just called group 1. And to place items in there, you want to select a layer and drag it up into the group and release. Now if I hide the group, that layer is hidden. So I'm going to go ahead and add all my layers in there. I'm going to hide this just to make sure they're all in there. And when I moved the clipping, or the curves adjustment, it removed the clipping mask. So I need to reapply that. Now I'm going to minimize this because this is all basically one item. And what I'm going to do next is apply what's called a inside shadow or inner shadow. That is a layer effect. So the layer effects are found down here. There's an F and an X. So you click on that and you have some layer effect options. So I'm going to choose inner shadow from the list. Now here I can make this adjustment. So the inner shadow actually makes it look like the background is actually on top of it. So I'm going to add some distance just to show you that effect. So you can see it looks like the wood layer is being pulled away and casting a shadow onto the orchard image. It's kind of a cool effect. So the angle would be the angle of the light source. So I want it basically almost from straight up and down. The opacity is the darkness of the shadow. So we've got opacity, angle, distance. Choke just pushes out the fade of the shadow, and then size is the spread, so how far out it spreads. Just kind of play around with the settings until it looks good to you. And press OK, and here on my group I have this effect, inner shadow. Alright, so there's inside this group, there's an adjustment I forgot to make. You can see here there's actually a boy over here that's been cut out. So what I want to do is adjust the placement of this image. So if I select this apple orchard and go to the move tool, start moving it away, it actually moves the image and the mask. So that's not going to work. So what's happening here is these two layers, the mask and the image, are linked together. So if you modify one, you're going to modify the other. So what I want to do is unlink those by clicking on this chain link in between them. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on the image icon again, and now I can move that independent of the mask. Place it about right there. And now that that's placed correctly, I'm going to go ahead and link those two together again. Alright, now we're starting to get somewhere. We got this nice effect here. Let's go ahead and view our finished product, what that's supposed to look like. Starting to look similar. So for the next part, we're going to focus on this apple orchard logo. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide everything else. Oh. Since this is grouped, I can just hide this group. And turn on that logo layer. And now I need to remove the background. So I'm going to use the quick select tool this time. I need to be on the layer. And then just quickly select everything here. Make sure all the letters are selected. Basically, you just want marching ants around the outside. Oh, there's another letter I missed. Okay. Now I'm going to apply the mask. So everything else is transparent. Alright, again, this is a layer with a mask applied. And I want to apply another mask to it, so that I can add this wood texture. So I need to merge this down into its own layer where the mask and the layer itself are merged. So again, there's a couple ways. There's one destructive way to do that, which would be rasterizing the layer. That's destructive, but we've already learned that we can use the Smart Object option to retain the information in it, and we can apply another mask to this. So I'm going to apply a mask, and now I have a new canvas to apply a pattern to. So what I want to do is enable the wood pattern layer, and I want to select all, everything that I see here. So I'm going to go to select all, or Control A. And then I want to go to Edit and Copy. Now I want to paste that into this mask. So I'm going to just hide the wood layer, and I'm going to Alt-click the mask to show just the plain white mask. And then I need to Edit, Paste. Whoops, that didn't work. Let's try that again. Let's go back, and I'm going to deselect. Oh, I need it to be on the wood layer. So you're going to select whatever information is on whatever that is selected. So I think I had this layer selected, so when I selected select all, it selected everything in that image, not the wooden image. So let's try this again. Let's go ahead and do select all, edit, copy. Then I'm going to hide that layer, and then select this here. Make sure my mask is selected. Then Alt-click the mask, and then choose Edit and Paste. There we go. So now we have the wood pattern in this logo image. I'm going to Alt-click to view what the result is. So again, just like with the watercolor, it's too faded. So I need to make an image adjustment to push some of these lighter grays to be pure white. So I'm going to go to the Image tab, scroll over Adjustments, and then we're going to use Curves again. And I want to adjust the white setting here and drag it over to force more of these light grays to be pure white. I want to retain some of that grain look. So I'm going about right here. Looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and just adjust to make sure that there's pure black in it. So I'm just adjusting the black to the right a little bit. Then I'm going to click OK. So let's view that mask now. So that's a lot more, just kind of an aged pattern. Now we have all of our components finished. Oh, I don't need that anymore, so I'm going to drag this to the top. And then I need to move this. So I'm going to go ahead and move this there. Sorry, I had to pause again. Alright, so I want to adjust this to make it smaller. Okay, so I still have a selection here for some reason. Let's go ahead and select and deselect. And now with the move tool selected, as long as I have show transform controls checked there, I'll have these little handles to be able to resize my image. So I'm going to grab one of these handles, and if you hold the shift key down while you adjust it, it will retain the aspect ratio, the height to width ratio. If I don't have shift held down, I can elongate it, or I can change the ratio, but I want to retain that by holding shift. I just want to change the size, about that big, and then I'm going to move it into position here. Maybe it's a little too big still. Let's try that. Then click the check mark to approve that. Alright, so the last thing I think I was going to do is add a shadow, a drop shadow. It's going to make some of these lighter areas that are over a light image stand out a little better. So that's the layer effects again. So I'm going to click down here and choose drop shadow. And I'm just going to play around with the settings until I get something that I like. Just trying to fill in some of those lighter areas so it is not so washed out. That looks pretty good to me. Press OK. Alright, there you have it. I think that's pretty close to our finished product. There were a couple extra steps that we did in class, but for now that is going to be okay.